Thanks for coming by for another Monster Monday, the best way to start your week. Our creature feature this time around might not be wholly original, but its source of inspiration comes from within Pathfinder itself. Get ready for a little bit of edutainment as we take a look at the teaming troop, the Black Scorpling Nest.
That girl is
Before we begin, we're now on Patreon. You can get builds and monsters 3 weeks early there, as well as unique items and extra content. Even a little bit helps us go a long way.
Alright, where to begin? Well, I suppose the best place to start would be the place that we, as RPG aficionados, tend to find the scariest. That is, real life. Scorpions are fascinating creatures that I truly adore. I don't know what it is, but I have a predilection of sort towards them that causes me to favor any scorpion-themed creatures and characters, no matter how lame they act or how much they job. Now, scorpions, uniquely among arachnids, give live birth to their young, which are rather adorably called scorplings. Perhaps even more interesting is the fact that the mama scorpion will then carry her children on her back, protecting them and teaching them how to hunt until they've matured enough to set out on their own. With that said, back in Pathfinder land, we have the literally gargantuan Black Scorpion, a colossal critter that I'm assuming is inspired by the monochrome B movie of the same name. This is the Mac Daddy of scorpions at level 15, and between its immensity, a desert campaign I'm running, not that my players should read into this at all, and the fact that there was an animalistic troop in the form of the Velociraptor pack introduced in Monster Core 2, I got a little inspired. My Black Scorpling Nest are the children of a black scorpion gathered in a group to viciously vivisect a variety of victims. Their size and number inspired me to make a proper troop of them, which led to them being built at level 11. This level should put them in the range to run alongside a fully grown black scorpion if you want to do so. Now, like that source creature, my Scorplings bear the animal trait, but their swarming mass means that they do of course also feature the troop trait. Perhaps a bit more disorderly than most that do, but certainly no less deadly. When it comes to selling the scores for these stinging sweetings, I looked at the Black Scorpion itself to see where its abilities landed as a sort of rough guideline. This means that they are starting with a high strength score, which will serve as their primary combat ability score and what they'll be using to attack with their claws and tails, at least thematically. Scorpions are also often decently hardy with a moderate constitution in this case, and as predators and hunters in the wild, I also decided to use an about moderate wisdom for them too. Given their age, they're a little uncoordinated with a low dexterity, which is the last of their positive ability scores, as their intelligence and charisma both follow the likes of their mega-sized mama. I matched their moderate wisdom with a moderate perception score then, and followed the Black Scorpion's design with the inclusion of dark vision and tremor sense. Though, given their youth, the range of the latter is a bit lower than a full-grown Black Scorpion. They have a single skill in the form of an athletics check with a high value, which will mainly be important for establishing a DC for the escape check that those poor unfortunate souls caught in their claws will have to make. While a full-grown Black Scorpion has a high armor class for its level, I went with a moderate value for these Scorplings, operating under the reasoning that their carapace hasn't fully developed yet, at least not enough to warrant a higher armor class. I initially wanted to make these Scorplings a little beefy, but was slightly worried by standard troop defenses, leading to me going for a more moderate value, though one that is divisible by 3 so that we can have the various thresholds required for troops. They do have a weakness to area damage and splash damage due to being a mass of monsters, which just leaves their saving throws. I followed the Black Scorpion's design with a high fortitude, and then a paired low reflex and will. All of the related ability scores are of similar value, but they do still manage to at least slightly follow them, with its slow saves being associated with its lowest of these scores. After that, things get a little awkward here, because as a troop, we don't have any of those typical strikes or offenses or the things that I usually go over here. So, with that being the case, I guess we should just go ahead and get straight into Rather than strikes or anything of the sorts, troops usually possess an ability that ranges from 1 to 3 actions and deals damage all around them. My take on this is the Scorplings grab and stab, as they bring their claws and stinger tails to bear. Based off the giant scorpion, these attacks have a reach of 10 feet, and further based off of a couple troops I looked at, I kept to a moderate value for the effects. Furthermore, troop damage didn't seem to be based off of area damage, but hewed more closely to strike damage, at least what I saw from my observations. A single action is even lower than low damage for its level, but its 2-action version is between low and moderate, while its 3-action version gets up towards high damage. However, I added a little bit more to my Scorplings. Failing against the 2 or 3-action version could lead to a creature becoming grabbed or restrained in its claws, while any creatures that take damage from the 3-action version are exposed to black Scorpling venom. Talking about toxins, I normally design poisons with only a moderate DC, but because I have this poison behind the 3-action version of its grab and stab, I thought that just maybe I could pump this all the way up to an extreme DC. This is also a little inspired by something I heard, where baby venomous creatures can be actually a bit deadlier than their grown counterparts, because they tend to overuse their toxin and don't really know how to regulate themselves. Now, as to the actual effects of this poison, it is simply based on the black scorpion's own venom, though I did scale back the potency just a bit since they are obviously younger creatures. I wanted to give these Scorplings a little bit more to go off than just that, so I decided to lean into the scorpions as a whole and made Pincer Pin. Scorpions often hold creatures down with their claws before stinging them repeatedly with their tails. This ability is inspired by that, and is a very simple effect reducing a creature's save against its other DCs. Having the penalty afflict the players directly helps to keep it from being one of those invisible abilities that they warn you about in the book. And beyond that, players are actually equipped to change this by escaping the hold of these crawling critters. Now, failing to escape that hold could lead to the stinging siblings squabbling and bickering over their imprisoned prey. This fun little action requires the Scorplings to have a creature grabbed or restrained, and then just deals about low damage to all creatures captured, though with a high DC rather than the moderate DC of the grab and stab. I did debate about having this being persistent bleed damage as the Scorplings almost quarter a creature between themselves, but I was worried that would be a bit much alongside the poison damage already in its kit. However, if that sounds like something you would like, I think it's a very solid alternative. That does also bring to mind the final ability in our kit, Sudden Stings. This is inspired by the reactive strikes commonly found among scorpions, though I had to look at other troops to see how they designed effects such as this. It functions highly akin to reactive strike, triggering off of movement, manipulate actions, and range attacks. It then forces a moderate DC reflex save, just like its grab and stab, while also dealing damage like the 2-action version of this attack. However, since this is all about its stingers, it doesn't grab a creature that fails its save. Instead, it exposes such creatures that critically fail their save to its violent venom. Short and sweet, that's our Scorplings. Considerably colossal, this creeping cutie pile crawl across the carapace of their cantankerous kaiju-coated caregiver, with claws clacking and quickened quills quivering. While the size of my troop here is technically the same as their mother, I love the idea of an encounter that features a black scorpion dragging itself from the dunes, as sand and her babies alike pour off of her. I think in most cases, the black Scorpling nest probably makes the most sense to run alongside a black scorpion. However, you could also think about including them with a Geartablilu or a band freshly striking out on their own. Now, one quick mention before we go. We're getting close to 900 subscribers. I would really love to hit 1,000, and if we can do so before the end of the year, I'd like to put together something a little special for the folks here. In the meantime, let me know what you think of the black Scorpling nest, and what other monsters I should make. If you dig this one, let me know with a like and a subscribe. I want to give a big thanks to the folks on the Patreon, with a special shout out to the Orc Overlords, that being Decaffeinate, Robert Miller, Shy Binster, and Vorthus. You too could head on over there for early access to the vids and extra content. Either way, thanks for watching and have a monstrous Monday.